So Abu Garcia Japan has been really quiet over the last few years. They really haven't released any new tackle of note at any of the Japanese fishing shows since 2016. But just like Abu Garcia America, it looks like Abu Garcia Japan has come out with their version of the Xenon baitcasters. And that includes a bait finesse model. So just like in 2016 when Shimano came out with the Shimano Aldebaran BFS, Abu Garcia also came out with their REVO LTX BF8. So since Shimano came out with the new Aldebaran BFS this year, I guess it only makes sense that Abu Garcia is bringing out a new bait finesse reel. So 2022 is looking to be a pretty big year for upper end bait finesse tackle. So I'm going to show you these Xenon reels and some of the new, technology that is going into them. And of course we're going to focus on that bait finesse reel, but we're going to save that reel for last. Now they have a special website just for the Xenons, and I think they're going to start off with 3 models. Now I don't think they're going to do away with the REVO lineup, but I think they're going to separate some of their more expensive REVOs and move them into the Xenon lineup and kind of leave the REVOs as mid-tier models. Alright, so we're here at the special Xenon webpage, and up top here we have the Xenon Beast, which they define as a compact monster. Over here we have the Xenon MG7, which they define as bass versatile. And then we have the Xenon LTX, which they define as a freshwater and saltwater bait finesse reel. So let's see what these Xenons are all about. It says the long-awaited bait model has appeared in Abu Garcia's flagship reel, Xenon series. Abu's design philosophy, which seems to be close to Angler, opens up a new horizon for compact reels with excellent design and rigidity. How does world-class essence update your fishing style? Now keep in mind this is being translated from Japanese. Okay, so here's the first feature. Ergonomic design that seems to be thoroughly close to people. It says by making the side plate position asymmetrical, it prevents the interference of the palm during palming and reduces the height when the rod is attached by 1.3 millimeters compared to the past. The operability of the clutch has been dramatically improved and has become more intuitive to use as if it were part of the body. So basically they are making these new Xenon reels, which look to be somewhat based on the Roxani frames, into an asymmetrical design. So as you can see here, the palm side plate is shorter than the handle side plate, and they say that the height of the reel once mounted on the rod is only 37.5 millimeters. So very low profile, and they're saying that the reel itself is very compact. Now the Roxani reels were not that compact, so these might actually be all new frames and side plates that only look like the Roxani's. So it's kind of like Shimano's CONQUEST, where they made the palm side plate smaller than the handle side plate with an asymmetrical design. Now I do see here that there is a bulge out here, and that's the brake dial trim, and that could present a problem when it comes to comfort, but I guess we're gonna have to find out when I get my bait finesse model. Alright, so the next new bit of improvement or technology is going to be pursuit of comfort with large diameter drive gear and high rigidity. Diameter 107% compared to REVO 3 for the Xenon Beast 9. MG7 and LTX are made of lightweight and high strength extra super duralumin, and Beast is made of ultra high strength and ultra durable special brass material. The overwhelming rigidity realizes comfortable and efficient winding. So right here in this illustration, you'll see that the Xenon Beast 9 is going to have a massive 40.5 millimeter main gear. That's pretty much going to take up every available bit of space inside the gearbox. So it's an oversized main gear, and that's supposed to improve, I guess, the cranking power and I guess comfort in winding, which I'm assuming smoothness when cranking the handle. Now that is definitely something that Abu Garcia has been lacking when compared to, you know, Shimano, DAIWA, and even LEWS. And that's strange because LEWS is made in the same Doyo factory. Alright, so the next, I guess, improvement they've made says level wind layout that suppresses line resistance. By arranging the level wind to the front side of the reel, the introduction angle of the thread between the spool and the level wind is reduced. By lowering the line resistance, we succeeded in reducing the reel size while achieving stress-free castability. So basically, they poked out the level wind pretty much as far as it'll go. So any farther than this, it's going to go out past the, I guess, top part of the frame, and they're claiming that the space between the middle of the spool and the opening of the level wind is 31.8 millimeters. And also, when the level wind is in the, I guess, middle of the frame, when you make a cast, the maximum friction angle is going to be only 34 degrees. Now, strangely enough, it doesn't look like they are going with, you know, a larger oversized level wind with like a cone taper like Shimano does. But the fact that they poked it out as far as it could go is definitely an improvement, because the past Revos were so square and compact that the space between the spool and the level wind was very short. So by moving the level wind forward, they, I guess, hope to increase casting ability, meaning distance, and hopefully controlling overruns. Alright, so the next bit of new technology, it says pinion support structure that supports powerful winding. Pinion support structure that securely supports the outer part of the pinion gear with the crank side plate via ball bearings. Stable by 2-point support of ball bearing and pinion engagement part at the time of winding. When casting, a clearance is maintained between the inner surface of the pinion gear and the spool shaft to achieve stable rotation with zero friction. Alright, so let's check this out now. Unfortunately, this Japanese didn't translate, but we can kind of look at the pictures here. Now, automatically people are going to assume this means Abu Garcia is finally implementing some kind of X-ship type double bearing pinion support. But if you take a look at the diagram, it looks like it's only going to be supported by one bearing on one side, and according to this information over here, the other point of support is actually going to be the spool shaft itself, which is up top, and that's when the clutch is engaged. Now when the clutch is disengaged, they're saying that the spool shaft is not going to come in contact with the pinion gear. So just by reading that, it sounds like they are going with their version of, I guess, Shimano's Infinity Drive, which is something I have yet to experience. But according to this, I guess previous Abu Garcias had no kind of bearing support on the pinion. Alright, so those are the main, I guess, bits of new technology. Asymmetrical frame design, an even bigger oversized main gear, moving the level wind forward as much as they can, and giving the pinion gear dual support in the form of the spool shaft and one ball bearing. So now let's go and check out the different models and their specs. So the first one is going to be the Xenon MG7, which I assume probably the equivalent in America is going to be the Xenon MGX, I'm assuming. But since they call it the MG7, I'm assuming this frame material is going to be magnesium. And it says the weight is only going to be 135 grams. So that's going to be under 5 ounces. And looks like it's only going to come in, what, 1 gear ratio, a 7.5 to 1. I guess that's why they call it the MG7. And you can see here that the spool diameter has been reduced down to a whopping 30 millimeters in diameter by 22 millimeters across. So right there, in my opinion, that was a bad move. Now spools these days are getting smaller and smaller and lighter, but when you are creating, I guess, an all-around all-purpose bass reel that will need to also long cast, shrinking that spool down to 30 millimeters is really going to hinder overall cast distance, especially when your competition is the mighty METANIUM MGL that has a 34 millimeter spool. Now it says handle length is 85 millimeters, 4 kilos of drag. Seems kind of low because you know Abu Garcias tend to boast huge drag numbers. But one thing I wanted to point out to you guys is that according to a Japanese magazine, this piece right here, which I'm pointing out with the arrow, this black piece, normally on other reels would be made of, you know, graphite or plastic, but they're saying this is actually made of aluminum. Alright, so ball bearing count is 9+1, which seems kind of low, but the price is going to be 45,000 yen, so that is going to be probably right in between the DAIWA ZILLION 1000 and the METANIUM MGL. So very stiff competition for this Xenon MG7, especially with that tiny 30 millimeter spool. But let's check out the left-handed model. You can see it's got a carbon fiber handle and I think a carbon fiber drag star. Yep, this is the MG7 right here. You can see the drag star is carbon fiber. You see the new rubber flat knobs. And look at the knob end caps. It just occurred to me that this design is the same as the Abu Garcia little, I guess, slanted rectangle. But here you can also see that there's carbon fiber inlays underneath this trim piece. Then you got your standard Abu Garcia spool tension with this symbol to the King of Sweden, which is kind of funny. Okay, so let's check out these beast models now. Now these, I guess, are going to be your heavy duty, big bait, big capacity reels. You're going to have the option of a 6 gear ratio, which is a 6.8 to 1. And also a 9 gear ratio at 9.5 to 1. So the weight on these reels is going to be much heavier at 195 grams. The spool is going to be bigger at 32 millimeters by 22 millimeters, but still a very, very small spool for a big bait reel. 95 millimeter handle that's made of carbon fiber, but it's solid. There's no holes drilled into it, and it's straight, it's not swept. And you can see that it's got big line capacity, 16 pounds. It'll hold 100 meters. So not that big, but yeah, the Xenon Beast 6 and the Beast 9. Okay, so let's get to the reel that all us bait finesse nerds have been waiting for. And that's going to be the Xenon LTX. And this is the left-hand model. Of course, it's going to come in right-hand as well. But it looks to me like, no, they're a little different, but all these reels are some form of gray or silver. It's almost like you can barely tell them apart. See, the LTX is just a lighter shade of silver than the MG7, and the Beast is a darker shade. So it looks like the LTX is going to be right in between the MG7 and the Beast series when it comes to color. But let's take a look at the specs on the LTX. Now the weight, it says 150 grams, So they're no longer trying to, I guess, compete with Shimano as having the lightest bait finesse reel, because 150 grams is probably going to be somewhere in the mid 5-ounce range. It's going to have 8.3 to 1 gear ratio, and you can see the spool diameter and width is also 30 millimeters by 22 millimeters. And I wish I could blow this picture up, but you can see it's very shallow, and it looks to have the same porting design as the LTX BF8, which has long been discontinued. 85 millimeter handle that's made of carbon fiber. As you can see, it looks like the drag star is also going to be made of carbon fiber. 5 kilos of drag, and here's the line capacity, which is typical for these days, which is about 50 or so yards of 8-pound. 9+1 bearings. Price is going to be 43,500 yen, so it's going to be probably about 20 bucks cheaper than the new Aldebaran BFS. Now with this reel weighing as much as it does, the frame is probably going to be made of aluminum instead of magnesium, but I'm not too concerned with that. What I'm concerned with is how light did they make that spool? Now the outgoing REVO LTX BF8 had a 6-gram spool that for the longest time was the lightest stock JDM BFS spool in the world up until the new Aldebaran came out. So hopefully the new Xenon LTX will have a lighter spool, but the reason I'm concerned about that is because Abu Garcia is now adopting the long spool shaft just like Shimano instead of going with the short spool shaft, and that's going to add weight. And I think I saw a picture of one of these spool shafts. Yep, right here you can see, and hopefully those spool shafts are going to be made of aluminum. There's a picture of the thumb bar, which is also asymmetrical, but it looks pretty plain in black. So yeah, the new JDM Xenons, including a bait finesse model. Not sure when they're coming out, but since I am a bait finesse nerd, as soon as these Xenon LTXs come out, I'm gonna get one and share that with you guys and let you know what it's all about. But yeah, overall, basically with these Xenons, it looks like Abu Garcia is moving away from imitating a lot of DAIWA features, and they are going with features that imitate Shimano, like the asymmetrical frame design, which Shimano's been using for quite a few years now. Even the DAIWA ZILLION 1000s adopting that. The huge oversized gear that pretty much fills up the entire gearbox. Shimano's been doing that for a while. Poking the level line out as far as it'll go, just like the 2016 METANIUM. And then of course the long spool shaft design that's incorporating some kind of an infinity drive version by Abu Garcia to increase the power and smoothness. So yeah, it looks like Abu Garcia Japan has finally come out of the shadows and unveiled some new products for us. And hopefully this Xenon LTX is just going to be the start, and they'll give us an even higher spec bait finesse model in the future. Alright guys, thanks a lot.